Hello there, thank you for staying with us and welcome to another edition of Channels Beam right here on Channels Television. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, one of the Sustainable Development Goals is to achieve zero hunger globally and also ensure the attainment of food security for all. However, in Nigeria, efforts towards assisting farmers through government and private sector programs to ensure this SDG could be yielding results, but the recent rise in attacks on farmers by Boko Haram and bandits is almost becoming a clog in the wheel of progress. So today on the program, we will take a look at how insecurity is taking a toll on the prices of food in the market. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the trending social media topics in the past week.
The trial of the former chairman of the Pensions Reform Task Force, Abdulrasheed Maina, caught the attention of Nigerians after he slumped in court. While some Nigerians were surprised at his sudden illness, others went down memory lane to dig similar incidents where people under probe all of a sudden fall ill during trial. Nigerians expressed pain and outrage over the abduction of over 300 students from Government Science Secondary School Kankara in Katsina State. Though a federal government delegation was sent by the president, the outrage grew louder as the president was in Katsina State for a private visit and didn't visit Kankara.
Well, there you go. Those were some of the trending topics in the past week, but you can be a part of the conversation from wherever you're watching around the world. Just tweet at us at Channels TV, at Channels Beam, at Victor_MBIDI. You can use the hashtag Channels Beam as well as food security. But joining us to look at today's topic, we have with us right here in the studio, Seun Augbenle. He is a public policy analyst, a communications expert, an advocate for good governance and youth inclusion in politics. We also have Olawale Rotimi. He is a recognized young leader in the agricultural sector in Africa, creating jobs and improving the living standards of farmers. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you both with us today on the program. So, Seun kicks out the conversation for us. Of course, like you saw, one of the trends was talking about insecurity, students that were abducted in Kankara in Katsina State. But generally, where are we in terms of insecurity right now in the country?
Where are we? Where are we is really bad. The Constitution is clear that the welfare and security of the people shall be the primary and fundamental responsibility of government. So, based on constitutional, qualification or based on constitutional expectation, that at any point the leadership of the country must be able to guarantee the security and the welfare of its people. So, where you have actually done that, any leadership that fails to do that has actually failed, even based on constitutional expectation. So we have actually gotten to a point where the lives and livelihoods of our people have been greatly threatened. People can, just like we said about food, security, people can no longer go to their farms because, the truth is that peace is a major prerequisite for prosperity. Where there's no peace or stability, you cannot achieve prosperity. And that is what we can clearly see. Abuja Kaduna, road has become a no-go. People can no longer go. A lot of farmers who have contributed greatly to the production of food, particularly at this period, can no longer go to their farms. So, particularly in northern Nigeria, and if you don't forget, farming and husbandry is actually the mainstay of northern Nigeria. So at the moment, that is seriously threatened. You cannot be talking about food insecurity at a time when Nigeria is also in serious recession. What's it called? Local consumption is a major aspect of one of the things that can actually get us out of. So if food security has been threatened, then I don't know how Nigeria is going to get out of what's it called, recession.
Well, let me bring Rotimi into the conversation. Rotimi, how does all of this affect farmers? I mean, I know he made mention of the fact that they can't go to their farms, but how else does it affect them?
Yeah, thank you one more time, Victor, for having me on the program. Once again, I'm glad to be back to discuss another important topic this time. I agree with my colleague on the show today that, of course, where we are is bad. And as a farmer, an agricultural entrepreneur who's on the field, I can tell firsthand the implication of the current situation in relation to food sector in the food sector of the country. Yeah, of course, recently we've been hearing reports of several kidnaps. Myself, I can count colleagues in the industry who have been attacked. And I do not mean even up north, I mean in the southwest. Some of them even attacked in Ekpe, in Lagos State, by kidnappers, by robbers on their farms. In some of these cases, we have colleagues who have abandoned their projects, their farm projects, and these are farm projects that are worth millions of naira, and not just worth millions of naira alone. These are farm projects that have employed a lot of young people, employed a lot of women in those communities, and also more importantly is that agriculture is a chain. These are projects that the chain is impacting a lot of lives. So you have people who buy the eggs from these poultry farms. You have people who feed on the chicken. You have children who get their nutrition. You have nursing mothers who get their nutrition from this production. So I think where we are now, we are at a very critical point as a nation, because now the point we're getting to now is that farmers are scared to go to farm. For example, now I used to drive my vehicle to the farm, to the factory in Oyo State. But of recent, because we are responsible for our own security as farmers, as agricultural entrepreneurs. So we gather intelligence from our colleagues in the industry. Oh, how are things going? What are the challenges on your side? We had of a robbery case in the farm. How did it happen? So that we know how to move. So now I find myself going to Ojota to board a bus and go to farm, because if I drive a so-called luxurious car, I risk being profiled.
So, I mean, it's good that you made mention of poultry, chickens, because when you talk about farms, people just think that it's just. I mean, I would have just thought that it's just the maize, the corn, and all of that. And so one of the key things that we've actually listened to, or that we've seen happen, is the fact that they say onions has been super expensive. Right. The thing is, you go to the markets and you see all of this food items.
Right.
And, we're talking about food insecurity. So people might just be at a loss as to what exactly, is going on. The prices now, why do we have the prices skyrocketing?
Yeah, so when we talk about food security, there are two critical things. We're talking about food affordability and food availability. Unfortunately, currently in Nigeria, we don't have both. We don't have the affordability and we don't have the availability. Now, why we don't have the affordability? Number one is this insecurity we're talking about. If you look at the demography, our production is dropping. Take cocoa, for example, now. Every year, the production of Nigeria is dropping. In a couple of weeks ago, I was reading on the news that a lot of cocoa farmers who are trying to export their cocoa out of the country, the cocoa is stranded at the port for weeks because of a policy from the CBN to contain forex. So, and this is just a backward issue. If it's stranded at the port, then it hits back to the farmers right there. So now, that's how it happens. So now we have the issue of insecurity, one of the reasons why the food items are no longer affordable, because when farmers are unable to go to farm anymore, that means the production drops, and then we're talking of high demand and low production. So this is pure demand and supply issue. So the demand is increasing, while the supply is dropping. So then the little you have then is the survival of the fittest. So maybe you used to have 2 million metric tons of maize annually before, but now maybe we'll have 1.5 million. And then we'll have more children, we'll have more people in the country. Now we're over 200 million people, So people have to feed, and feeding is not a one-off thing. It's a once and again. You have to keep doing it. You've eaten this morning, you have to eat in the afternoon, you have to eat in the evening. So the demand keeps rising. So the demand keeps rising and the production keeps dropping.
So I mean, so you made mention of how farming and food production would actually help us bounce out of recession. But again, like you said, with the state of insecurity, this perhaps might not be feasible. But so what can we begin to do pretty much now to get back on track?
Absolutely. The leadership has to guarantee the security of the people. The first thing is that, where the people are feel unsafe, almost everywhere, people can, barely go out. The truth is that without security, nothing else, no development can take place. Where there's no security, the people are in, what's it called? The people are afraid for their lives. And, what's it called? Safety is actually instinct. People first want to feel safe before they can do anything. And then, a lot of time we actually talk about Nigeria actually having a viral, population, that can actually translate into, economic growth and development. But the truth is that you can't maximize that potential and population where there is no safety, where people clearly don't feel secured. Now, what we have today is a national crisis, and I think the leadership of the country must understand this first. There was a time when they said the president should come and, speak to the country. And then, they said, because the potential embarrassment of the president, what sort of supersede the national security of the problem. That's completely unheard of. These are completely new, alien, these are things that are alien, to fundamental democratic practice. At this point, what we have is a national crisis. And in a national crisis, one of the things that decent leadership will do is to begin to offer hope, right? People, need to be hopeful even in a situation of crisis. It is okay to say that perhaps security is not peculiar to Nigeria alone. But the truth is that you need new ways of doing things. One, you need to begin to offer hope. Two, you need new ways of doing things. Three, the entire security architecture needs to be rejigged. You cannot continue to do the same thing and expect to achieve results. The super camps, the strategy of the super camps, where the military, have super camps and then they wait, for what's it called, terrorists to come and meet them. It's no longer working. You need to review it. What about the leadership? What's it called? The soldiers and the fighting troops are completely demoralized. You cannot detach it from the fact that the leadership of the leadership of the military are still well beyond their stay. And lastly, let's talk about policing. You cannot. Nigeria is a country of about 206 million people, as at last week when the NPC said. Yeah. You cannot centrally police Nigeria. It is impossible. These are things that are completely lopsided. How would you? Because the truth is that different states, different communities actually have their own peculiarities and complexities. And that is why, what's it called? The federating units are actually closer to the people to take responsibility for their security. You cannot say that.
Are you advocating for state police?
Absolutely. You cannot say that the federal government that completely doesn't even know. They are not close to the people. So why did we have the idea of state and local government? There's a role. There's a reason, because they understand. They are closer to people and they understand their challenges. We're talking about banditry. We're talking about kidnapping, right? Particularly in the Northwest. In fact, how would you? It is. The other day, they said the students were kidnapped in Kankara. And then the president was even right there in the same Katsina, say, a few hours before the abduction took place. And nothing can actually you can't even put these things together.
He sent a delegation to the community. But, let me just hold you for a bit. Rotimi, of course, one of the things, that people say is a solution to almost everything at this point in time is technology. So we'll take a break, and perhaps when we come back, we'll look at how technology can help in solving all of these problems. But we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We still have with us our panelists right here in the studio, talking about insecurity and food security, looking at how we can find solutions to all of this quagmire that we're facing at the moment in the country. Rotimi, let me just come to you now. How do we deploy technology, to move pretty much from where we are now to where we would want to be? Maybe in farming, I don't know, but how do we do that?
Yeah, thank you for that important question. Peace is paramount, is the bedrock of progress. And then no matter what solution we're discussing on the program, go to discuss the solutions, but if there's no peace, there's no way we can deploy these solutions on ground. Technology can play a lot of role in agriculture. We have a lot of development in growing soilless farming, hydroponics, A lot of technologies out there, but it still comes back to the fact that, for example, except there's software to grow food, but not yet. We don't have a software to grow food yet. Otherwise, we would have said, okay, maybe I can download the software on my computer and then, okay, grow some maize and then let me have it. But we still have to go back. Whatever technology we have to, maybe I want to use drone to spray my farm, I still have to go back to this farm in the rural area. And then we're still talking about the same challenges. We're talking about kidnapping, robbery. Yeah, so for me, I think the first thing the government has to do, and mind you, Nigeria is actually a great country with a lot of potentials. We have a lot of arable land. Of course, we have energetic young people. We have skilled young people also and innovative young people who are passionate, who are able to put their ingenuity into the country, that can translate to food security. If you look at the way a lot of young Nigerians have become so passionate about farming in the recent years, this is like an awakening that the country can take advantage of, and use it to secure the food future of the country. And Nigeria's food security is not only important for Nigeria, but important for Africa because we are positioned to also serve other African countries, even the countries around us, and even countries beyond us. For example, now look at the rice revolution the president has been pioneering. This rice revolution, for example, in a case where Nigeria becomes sufficient in rice, other African countries import rice. Majority of the other African countries, we have Gambia importing rice, we have all the countries in East Africa importing rice. And where do they import their rice from? We go on trading economics and see where their trading bills are coming from. These guys are importing rice from Pakistan, from Thailand, far away. Of course, logistics-wise, it makes more sense
to do it from Nigeria.
Ship from Nigeria, to other coasts in Africa than for you to ship from Thailand. So you see, our food security, our position in agriculture is not just for us as a country, but for the prosperity of Africa. You see, so for me, the peace is paramount. Security is really, really paramount to whatever development we're going to make in agriculture. Because even if you have your factories in cities, if you have a factory in Lagos, your raw material is not going to come from Lagos. Your raw material is going to come from the rural areas. And these rural areas are threatened. People are unable to live in safety. People are unable to live in peace. People are afraid. Farmers are unable to go to farms to do their regular. And these are communities that have been living for decades. Suddenly these communities have become a no-go area. And mind you, we have been facing a humanitarian crisis over the years from Boko Haram. We have a lot of displaced farmers before now who are now living in IDP camps across the country. So already this systemic shortfall has been there over the years, coming gradually. And they're now coming to the point where they can't even go to farm at all. We have seen this happen in Benue. We have seen this happen up north. And now it's happening in Southwest. So it's not more a regional problem. It used to be a regional problem where it's happening in Borno. Oh, I'm in Lagos. It's none of my business. Oh, it's happening in Adamawa. Oh, it's Adamawa. That's fine. I'm still in Oyo State. It's not my problem. But now it's a national problem. You hear it in Oyo State. You hear it in Lagos. You hear it in Ondo. You hear it in Hakwai. Everywhere you hear it. So it's a national problem. And so for me, I think it's more important that the government is able to look at solving the security issue first. And then whatever solution that will be deployed will be able to work. You see? So I think that's for me very important first.
Yeah, Seun, what about you? I mean, moving forward, how do you think we can deploy technology also, in trying to ensure this peace?
Well, the first thing is that you need collaboration, particularly at the local level. We've talked about intelligence gathering. We cannot emphasize that enough. There's actually need for collaboration between the natives and the locals and the security agencies. And then, but then before you can even do this, there's need for trust. They need to be sure that whatever information that they are going to be given, that their identity will actually be protected. So for you to actually be able to deploy technology successfully, there's need for one, trust and confidence. The people need to have confidence in the security agencies, and and at that point you can now begin to talk about technology. They need to also, go to the local communities and train them on the way to actually make use of some of these technologies. It could just be as simple as dialing, a number or these are very simple. Or something. Yeah, exactly. These are very simple technology that once the people at the local community are actually trained on how to actually maximize this, then they can use it. So the intelligence would still have to come from people at the local community. But before you can do that, you need their trust. They need to have confidence in your capacity. But again, it is not just about the ability to be able to deploy technology. It's also about the capacity of our own military to be able to respond effectively, adequately, and promptly. So we also have a challenge of obvious lack of capacity, because it feels like even our military has been sort of degraded or decimated in one way or the other, perhaps because they have been overstretched. You know, you deploy them for civilian mop-ups, you know, for simple protests. You begin to deploy military, when in fact the constitution is even clear that the military would be deployed for against external aggression and to protect the territorial integrity of the country. So most times when you have actually ridiculously deployed the military, you know, for things like insurgency, terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, they no longer have the capacity to be able to tackle most of these things effectively. Even the police, you know, they are not properly equipped. The other thing we're talking about in SARS, and we talked about the need to actually increase the need to actually improve the welfare of police officers. So all of these things are intertwined, and it takes a serious leadership. But at the moment, you don't have a leadership that understands the importance of security in the life of people. In fact, you sort of have a president that's completely isolated from the present reality. I don't know if he feels safe, but to be honest, nobody is safe. Not even the president can talk about safety at this time.
Well, let's hope all of that would not bite us in the back anytime soon. And hopefully we all will feel safe, and all our farmers can go back to the farms. And again, you know, because of that, we'll be secure food-wise also. But I would say thank you for joining us on the program, Seun Awegbenle, as well as Rotimi Olaole. Thank you guys for speaking with us on the program.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at the movie videos on our YouTube channel in the past week.
Because a more matured person won't say make those comments.
Governor Nyesom Wike, playing host to Northern Leaders Forum, kicks off the most viewed videos in the past week.
It's unfortunate that leadership, we have forgotten that the primary aim of governance is to protect life and property, irrespective of where you come from, irrespective of what religion you belong, irrespective of whichever party you belong to.
It is followed by the attack on the convoy of Borno State Governor and his blaming of the military for the incident. Third, says former Kano State Governor condemning the killing of rice farmers in Borno. He further says the president is breaking the law with service chiefs.
The massacre, as you call it in Borno, is a very sad one, very disturbing, very disappointing, and very heart-touching.
Maintaining its spot on the charts in the second is the launch of Operation Akpako by Cross River State Governor to nip kidnapping and armed robbery in the bird.
So the team we have, I want to tell Cross Riverians, please go and sleep. We on our part, we have decided to shift emphasis from the big projects to focus on people.
And for the second week running, in first is the extradition of former chairman of the Pension Reform Task Team, Abdul Rashid Maina, after his arrest in Niamey, Niger Republic, by Interpol.
Well, there you go. Those were the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week, and that's where we wrap it up on the program as well. Thank you for watching. I'm Victor Mathias.